don't think any of us know all the answers to the future. Any of us know what all the solutions to the problems that affect our particular country or affect the world. But at least to keep challenging, at least to keep looking for solutions. That's what youth is. That's the challenge of youth. Few men are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellows, the censure of their colleagues, the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. It is the one essential, vital quality for those who seek to change the world.
Good evening. It's our great pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps' Embracing the Legacy Awards. Charlie and I are extremely honored to have been involved with this wonderful organization for many years. I've been involved for over 25 years, and Charlie for the past 12 years, as volunteers first, and eventually proud members of the organization's advisory council.
Thank you, Susan. You look beautiful tonight. So this is our 15th year honoring extraordinary individuals who embrace the legacy of Senator Robert F. Kennedy by working tirelessly to better the lives of children and their families. Our honorees, Jim Geraghty, Justin Pasquariello, Reverend Liz Walker, and Marty Meehan, have dedicated themselves to making positive impacts on the lives of some of the most vulnerable members of our communities by working with children, by raising awareness, by fighting against social injustices, and by advocating for those who just don't have a voice.
You're so right, Charlie. It's been a challenging year to say the least, unprecedented. And the theme for this year's event, Courageous Together, says it all when speaking to the work and mission of Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps.
Now, this year tested the children and families that we support like no other before it. Indeed, it was a tough year for any child in America, but for the ones we serve, even more so. Youth already facing challenges because of poverty, racism, trauma, mental health, and learning differences, now faced the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Across our programs, whether it was at the Kennedy School in Middleton, serving children involved in the juvenile justice system, or children participating in our Children of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse programming, the youth we serve, along with the many clinicians, teachers, and direct care staff providing treatment and support, confronted the challenges of the year with courage, resilience, and extremely hard work. We cannot wait for you to hear more here tonight at our first ever virtual gala. And now I have the greatest pleasure because for the first time, I get to do something that I am incredibly proud to be the person to do. I get to introduce the president and CEO of Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps. I've had the opportunity to get to know him a little in person and not up close because of COVID, but from a distance and through the many wonderful things that he has done so far in his career. Dr. Michael Ames.
Good evening. I am thrilled to be here with you tonight. My first Embracing the Legacy celebration as President and CEO of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps. And our first and hopefully last entirely virtual Embracing the Legacy celebration. I truly wish we could have gathered in person and greeted each other face to face. Nonetheless, I am grateful and truly honored to stand before you tonight. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight's event is a tribute to 4 remarkable individuals who I have been delighted to get to know. And in the case of Jim Geraghty, our board chair, I have been delighted to work with for over a year. Tonight is also a celebration of the courageous children and families we serve and the resilient staff who serve them. The work we do at the RFK Children's Action Corps transforms lives one person, one day, 1 hour at a time. Our success stories never have just one hero. Creating a path forward for a vulnerable child often takes that child, supportive and caring family, or other natural supports, a dedicated and creative team of staff members, and a lot of additional people who believe in that child's future. So let's talk about our staff and the RFK team for a minute. The RFK Children's Action Corps staff have weathered this past year's challenges with amazing grit and determination. If we were together in person tonight, I would pause and ask our staff to stand up and be recognized. So please, where you are right now, let's give the RFK staff a round of applause. I would also ask that you stand in recognition of Bob Watson, a former Embracing the Legacy Award honoree, and a man whose commitment to this agency, our staff, and the work we do is second to none. Bob stepped in as the agency's CEO just over a year ago to provide needed leadership and stability during a difficult time. Thank you to Bob for all that you did and have done for the RFK Children's Action Corps. And thank you to our staff for all that you do every day. You will hear from many of our staff tonight and see for yourself how selfless they are. We are also supported by an amazing and dedicated board of directors, some of whom you will also hear from tonight. Thank you to our board for their tremendous support and commitment to the RFK Children's Action Corps and to our important work. I also want to recognize the contributions of a number of our local leaders, some of whom are here tonight, for their leadership and commitment to the vulnerable children and families during this past year. Senator Michael Barrett for his unwavering support of our Detention, Diversion, Advocacy program, DDAP. Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito. Secretary Mary Lou Sutters in the Executive Office of Health and Human Services. Commissioner Linda Spears in the Department of Children and Families. Commissioner Peter Forbes in the Department of Youth Services. Senate President Karen Spilka and the Speaker of the House, Ronald Mariano. In addition to being a tribute and a celebration, tonight is also a fundraiser. We work with state agencies and school systems across the region to fund many of our programs, and yet to do our work at an extraordinary level to ensure that the children we serve receive the support they deserve and need to thrive. We need philanthropic support. It takes our programs to the next level, and it allows us to build new programs as needed. Never has this been more true than right now. Keeping our programs and services running during this pandemic has been costly, and new and innovative services are needed to help us meet the increasingly complex support needs of the children, youth, and families we work with. We are incredibly thankful to our sponsors for investing in the children we serve. And with your support tonight, we can continue to provide extraordinary care to extraordinary children. In fact, dollars raised during tonight's event will go to some really important initiatives, including strengthening our education programs after a year of significant expense due to the pandemic, as well as supporting a robust multi-year mentoring program to extend services to children in our Detention, Diversion, Advocacy program. This is a program we are very excited about, in which we have begun building with generous support from Donato Tramuto and the Tramuto Foundation. Donato, I should also note, is a former Embracing the Legacy honoree and a longtime partner and supporter of our work. Thank you, Donato. In closing, I want to say that you will hear a lot tonight about the path we have walked this past year, but I hope you will also take away the hope we see ahead. By the summer, we will fully merge with the Dr. Franklin Perkins School, an organization that I have had the privilege to lead for almost 6 years. Under a new name to be released soon, and building on a strong and stable foundation, we will come together to expand our impact, Together and with our collective expertise, we will enhance existing programs, build new ones, provide more opportunities for staff to learn and grow, and impact more children, youth, adults, and families. I'm thrilled to see so many people here tonight, old friends, new friends, and supporters. Thank you for being here, for your continued support of the children we serve, their families, and the staff who serve them, and for raising a glass to our amazing honorees tonight. Cheers.
At the beginning of last year, the coronavirus spread across the nation, shutting down communities and taking people by surprise. At the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, we responded quickly. Across our programs, we serve children who need our support and depend on the routines of our programs. For children in our residential programs, we hurried to ensure that safety was first and protocols were in place. Mask, distance, hand washing. And for those in our community-based day programs, we pivoted to serve them in new ways. That was the only acceptable response. There's no question that the children we serve and their families were disproportionately at risk. The economic and mental health tolls of the pandemic were swift and damaging. Schools closed overnight, and a lot of the children we serve were left without the technology or internet connections they needed to access education, without the safety of their school routines, without a parent in the house, because those parents were needed at their low-wage service jobs that put them at risk for exposure. Still others lost their jobs, leading to immediate instability. The kids were scared and uncertain. The youth we serve truly had no safety net this year. They come from families and communities that have been hardest hit by this pandemic, facing grave and disproportionate consequences. Youth of color, those living in poverty, and those with educational and mental health challenges have been hurt the most. They felt the financial and health impacts of COVID, and they needed us more than ever to be there by their sides. When they couldn't come to us, we came to them, digitally to educate and check in on them or to share a laugh, and physically to deliver food, provide technical assistance, and ensure safety. Having worked with children my entire career, my heart ached for the pain the pandemic caused to children who already had so many challenges to overcome. But I was comforted to know that for the children served by the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, they had the support they needed.
At RFK Academy, we focus on students who have IEPs and need special education services. And here, the students have been told that they are failing. They're shouldn't, couldn't, won't. And sometimes they really truly believe that. And we help support them and get them to the point where they're all working on that same goal of graduation, and support them through clinical services, educational services, and transition services all rolled into one. We got the notice from the governor of the state of emergency, March 13th, that we would not be returning to schools. And the teachers had to learn new platforms instantly and turn them around and provide them to the students.
We supported children this year during the pandemic by allowing ourselves to talk with students more through telephone, email, text messaging, just being there for our students as teachers, interventionists, administrators, all of the staff, and the school itself made the attempt to try to close the gap and make the students feel safer. Students of color at RFK Academy and our students experienced the pandemic in a way that other students may not have had to deal with. They saw how things were not working in the direction that should be for justice and fairness and equality, equity. And they should have seen a much more positive response to the tragedies we had last year. And I think that was really what drove our experiences. I am hopeful for the future for students, for us as a school, for society, for academic education, learning from our mistakes. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And what can we provide students for in the future?
Funding will strengthen RFK Academy and Don Watson Academy because it brings in the ability to increase our technology, our trainings, our infrastructure, which then turns to the students and helps them continue to grow and be successful in their education, in their individualized education plans.
Education is more than just reading and writing. It is building humanity in a much more positive direction.
Life doesn't just happen in these four walls where you learn from a book, because that's not what RFK is. RFK Academy is being in the world and experiencing the world.
Wow. Isn't it awesome, folks? What amazing work being done day in and day out. And we couldn't do it without the support from the wonderful people like you. So please, please, please consider making a very important donation this evening. It's very simple. You just text to the number below and you'll be helping us to carry on the amazing work you've seen tonight. It is now my honor and extreme pleasure to introduce my friend, former Congressman Joe Kennedy.
Thank you, Susan. It's great to see you, as always, even virtually. I want to start by echoing Michael's recognition of our local leaders, who have been allies of this organization for so many years. Additionally, I'd like to thank my fellow co-chairs of tonight's event, Emma Carpenter and John Boyle, for your contributions this year and every year to the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps. And to our four distinguished honorees, Jim Geraghty, Justin Pasquariello, Reverend Liz Walker, and President Marty Meehan. We are thrilled to recognize you today for your exceptional and extraordinary commitment to children and for serving the youngest and most vulnerable among us. You were nominated long before COVID-19 hit our shores, but you each continued to show this dedication and selfless spirit every moment since, in what has truly been an unprecedented time for our country. It's hard to even begin to process what we have suffered and what we have lost over this last year. The sickness that spread, the people taken from us, the economy jolted from under our feet, and the disproportionate impact of this upheaval on those already struggling, disenfranchised, or forgotten. And of course, the way all this trauma and this pain hits our youngest hardest, as it always does. We see it in the mental health challenges skyrocket for school-age children, and the child abuse and neglect cases that we know are rising, even as they are underreported. In the daily experience so many of us have as parents, grandparents, educators, or service providers, trying to explain to children what's going on, why it hurts, and why it's so hard. In all of this, I hear my grandfather's lessons and legacy clearly. Who is hurting most? Who is especially vulnerable? Where is the need greatest? It can be a hard question to ask in the midst of suffering that feels so broad and so deep and so collective. Who among us has not lost something sacred this past year? But when Phil Johnson founded this organization in my grandfather's name, the mission was crystal clear. The most vulnerable members of our society were the people it would serve. And this year showcased the need for this organization more than any other year in recent history. Of course, you all rose to the challenge. The incredible staff pivoted quickly to ensure critical services would be provided no matter what. The kids showed courage and resolve in unspeakably difficult circumstances. So many of you stepped up and chipped in to help us adapt, evolve, and meet the moment. All while this organization navigated its own personal transformations. We are so grateful to Ed Kelly for over 35 years of dedicated service. It's hard to imagine where this organization would be today without his leadership. And to Bob Watson for his interim leadership and his partnership with the board chair and honoree Jim Geraghty, as well as a full board of directors. recognizing the need and finding a merger partner that will ensure decades more of the important services that we provide. We are excited for our next chapter in partnership with Perkins and under the leadership of Michael Ames. This organization has a strong and bright future, grounded in continuing to serve our region's most vulnerable. Tonight's 4 honorees embody the work ahead. So I encourage you all to take it in, to do what you can to support the mission of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, and to stay engaged with us in the years to come. Because the work that we do here makes a real difference for thousands of children every single year. Children like Sierra, and I'll let her explain why.
Before I came to RFK Academy, life was not good for me. I was always sad, and I wasn't doing good in school. I was failing every class. I was always being sent out of my house. I think the longest time I was home was maybe 2 weeks. And when I came to RFK, I think the most thing that they could have done was be patient with me and help me step by step instead of like rushing me. Like when I was graduating, I stayed an extra year because it's what I needed, and they knew that. I knew RFK was the right school for me after I toured it. They told me everything that they would help me with, and it seemed genuine, like it seemed like they actually cared. The staff, they care about you. It's kind of like you're their family too. Like RFK is a big family, like we're a group of together. Without one of us, RFK won't run. Whenever I needed support, it was never wait, I'll be there in a second. It was, what do you need? What can we do to help you? For a long time, I really didn't know like who I was or what I wanted to be. They helped me be able to decide what I wanted to do with my life and help me in the direction and what I needed to do what I wanted to do. I didn't know how to apply for colleges, but Shelby helped me, and I applied and I got in. Now that I have left RFK and I am no longer in the RFK school, I work part-time at the YMCA with kids as an after-school group leader, and I am in college part-time for social work.
Wow, what a wonderful and inspiring story. And thank you, Sierra. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And there you have it, folks. There's an example of the wonderful work done by the staff of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, who put together programs that really help the kids forge their own futures and find the kind of support that they need to achieve the stability they so desperately need. And your contributions make a real difference to these kids' lives. Don't make any mistake about it. So right now, I want to take a moment to recognize a few sponsors who have really gone beyond and above for this organization. And these are our activist partners. And our deepest appreciation goes out to them. And they are Casey Family Programs, Marty Meehan Educational Foundation, Mutual of America Financial Group, and Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. Now, your donations are making a significant difference to these kids' lives. We want to thank you. I also want to call out a few supporters who have been very generous and donated tonight in the room this evening while we've been talking. And they are Joan and Steve Belkin, who happen to be themselves former Embracing the Legacy honorees. Also, Tim Hammonds and Alice Okunde. We want to really thank you so much for your generosity, all of you. And to everyone else out there, let's keep those donations coming. So in case some of you are interested in making a donation, but may be a little confused how to actually do that, how it works, or if you're like me, a little technologically challenged, we're going to put the instructions up on the screen so you can read how to do it. And we're going to put that up right now. And I want you to know in the meanwhile that the dollars raised in the room tonight are going to provide programs to support kids just like Sierra, like the ones you just heard about. So on their behalf, we thank you from the bottom of our heart. And now, here's Susan to talk about the first of tonight's very special honorees.
Jim Geraghty is a true champion for the Commonwealth's most vulnerable children. The son of a prison guard, he never imagined when he was growing up in public housing in Peabody, Massachusetts, that he'd be a high school ice hockey Hall of Famer, invited to train with the U.S. Olympic ice hockey team, a graduate of Brown University, a candidate for state representative on his 21st birthday, a coach for the Irish national ice hockey team, and a top private wealth advisor. He credits his teachers, coaches, family, and inspiration from the Kennedys for where he is today. Jim is the chair of the RFK Children's Action Corps board and oversaw a significant leadership transition to the building of an affiliation and merger with the Dr. Franklin Perkins School. Most importantly, Jim walks his talk. For the past 7 years, he personally mentored youth in our Detention, Diversion, Advocacy program. Additionally, Jim actively works with and supports the United Teen Equality Center, the Boston Police Activities League, the Boston Medical Center, and the American Ireland Fund. He is the founder of the Massachusetts Children's Hockey Foundation and finance chair of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. Jim is just an incredibly worthy recipient of this award and a true friend of this organization and the youth we serve. Jim, I love you.
I am thankful and honored for the opportunity to say a few words about my friend of 15 years, Jim Geraghty. You already know his amazing accomplishments from the reading of his introduction. I offer you two quotes that come to mind when I think of Jim's commitment to serving others. The first, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. Having only known Jim a month, I invited him to my first photography gallery showing in Lowell. The day of the event, his daughter was also in a sports tournament in Vermont. Having won the game meant another game the next morning. Rather than choosing between the two, Jim drove 3 hours from Vermont to Lowell and then back to Vermont early the next morning. I will forever appreciate that gesture of his friendship. Second quote, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. MLK. Jim is a believer in the greatness of our young people, and he does everything he can to create pathways for them. He's a man full of love for people. He prays and moves his feet. Congratulations, Jim. Welcome to the team.
I was lucky enough to win this award, and I'm very proud of the company I keep with past winners. Now tonight, that category of company increases dramatically. I am honored to have the opportunity to introduce Jim Geraghty. Jim is a terrific person. I can't take all the time to list his accomplishments as it would take too long. Suffice it to say, Jim has accomplished a great deal for many people who need help. I've had the opportunity to work with Jim, and he's a first-class individual. His commitment to people in need is as strong as I've ever seen in my lifetime. I am proud of him and happy to introduce him to you all as one of this year's winners.
Jim has been at the very heart of this organization for years, dedicating endless time, resources, insight, and love towards building it into what it is today. On behalf of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, Jim, I'm honored to present you with the 2021 Embracing the Legacy Award. Congratulations, my friend.
Good evening. Congressman Kennedy, Thaddeus, and Bob, thank you for those heartfelt words. I am so honored and grateful to the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps for this incredible honor and award. I am humbled to be sharing the celebration and honor this evening with my fellow awardees, Justin Pasquariello, Reverend Liz Walker, and Marty Meehan. As long as I can remember, I've always been influenced and inspired by the Kennedy family for their unwavering philanthropic and advocacy work, always looking out for the most vulnerable and underserved. Being a member of the RFK board has been especially rewarding for me, as the mission and the work being done every day is truly a living legacy to the late senator. This has never been more true than during the past year. When much of the world shut down due to COVID-19, our staff continued to show up every day, providing critical support and services to the youth and families we work with. I've had the privilege on many occasions seeing firsthand the work being done day in and day out by our incredibly dedicated frontline staff, and think how proud Robert Kennedy would be. In addition to my work at RFK, I am honored to be involved with numerous other organizations that focus on at-risk youth, and I can speak from experience. It all makes a difference. No matter if you can volunteer an hour a week or 5 days a week, whether you're mentoring a youth or you're helping to raise funds for programs that will ultimately change the trajectory of the lives of these children. It all matters. And I encourage everyone, particularly now with the year we've had, to find a cause, to do what you can to help change the lives of these youth, and in many cases, actually save lives. And honestly, I wouldn't be here today if it were not for the support and encouragement I received from the many teachers, coaches, and mentors who cared enough to help guide and push me to be the best I can be. And I wouldn't be able to do the work I do at RFK and the other organizations I care about if it were not for the support of my family. So I'd like to thank each and every one of them tonight for helping me to be the person I am and for doing their part as well. Thank you again for this incredible honor.
Wow, what a year. What a challenging year. We knew the kids we serve were already at risk. And yet, when we weren't able to see them in person, that had added a whole new dimension. So our staff, they needed to act quickly to bring services to them in new and creative ways. They had to work out the basics. How did they ensure they could communicate with the kids who were in their own environments? How did they ensure they had basic internet and an ability to access the internet through a computer? And how did they have access to the basics of food? Our staff simply shined throughout, from the teachers to the social workers to our residential staff, from our supervisors to our direct care physicians. I remain in absolute awe of what our staff did this year. They were learning new technology, new methods of teaching and relating to the kids, and yet they still went far and above beyond their roles to provide that compassionate care that our organization is known for every single child. What's more, the staff were dealing with their own issues at home, dealing with childcare of their own, being scared about whether or not this unknown disease, what it might do to them or their families, scared if by being at work they could bring back that exposure or potential exposure back into their own homes and their extended families. And yet they showed up and they put in 150% every single time. I and the rest of the team are just so grateful to the staff for everything they've done and that they continue to do. It is true across all of the staff in all of our programs, but it's certainly true of our staff in the Detention, Diversion, Advocacy program, who you'll hear from next.
DDAP started with, it's actually the Detention, Diversion, Advocacy program, and it started with the juveniles that are in detention that have cases in court. The judge will appoint one of the youth advocates to work with a youth that had just been arraigned.
We go into the courts, work with the family, with them, go into the schools, see how their IEP is, or the 504, if they have one, any type of resources that they need at the moment for the family and the youth.
We connect them with community-based organizations, may it be for therapy, family therapy, individual therapy. We connect with everyone to do ICC services. We set meetings up. We're there to support that youth so they don't come back into court, so they don't get caught up in the juvenile justice system.
Before DDAP, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know what I was going to do and what to do. I feel like I was caught up in the wrong crowd and didn't really know how to get out, just got caught up in the mix. The goals I worked on in the DDAP program was moving forward beyond middle school, beyond high school. What I was going to do with my life, what I wanted to pursue, who I was going to become.
DDAP entering in their life and showing them a new enrichment that they are interested, it makes their mind explore and wanting to seek more about how can they achieve that enrichment.
Take them out of their element. Show them something different. Show them the arts. Take them to theaters. Take them to the mountains. Take them fishing, hiking. Then the pandemic kicked in. What happens? They shut down. We still kept calling them 3 times a week, Zoom meetings, FaceTime, everything possible to keep them engaged and letting them know we were still there for them. We care about them. We're here to support them. We are a community. With additional funding, DDAP will be able to add a mentor with our youth so they can go to the movies, give them that additional support, and they can build a bond and let them know and follow them through as they get older and set their goals and move on with their life.
Kids don't have that one-on-one with their parents anymore, so it's where do they learn these things? And they learn from people who care about them. We care about them, so we give them those tools for them to be successful in life out there.
My goals now are to finish up high school, to go to college, to either go into business or to get my degree in nursing. Always something to fall back on.
Justin Pasquariello himself grew up in the foster care system. However, he was fortunate enough to have the support of his birth family, 2 foster families, and his adopted parents. Inspired by a sociology class at Harvard that involved community service, he knew he wanted to create meaningful change in the world. Justin went on to lead Children's Health Watch and is now the executive director for East Boston Social Centers. He oversees the work to serve culturally diverse families and individuals of all ages in East Boston and throughout Greater Boston. It's a values-based, tight-knit, joyful, and thriving community. Their motto is, when all give, all gain. Although their buildings were closed due to the pandemic this year, the work itself continued. Staff remained in contact with children in their programs, helping them stay connected with teachers and each other, as well as providing basic needs and educational resources. They hosted virtual field trips, and staff read books and uploaded videos. Their family engagement network launched virtual welcome baby visits, developmental screenings, and playgroups, and this is one of my favorites, delivered yarn to older adults who then knit blankets for the children. Justin was recognized by the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce as one of 10 outstanding young leaders and was recently selected as Re-Envisioning Foster Care in America champion. He was also named a Bank of America local hero, a Boston Celtics hero among us, and an Echoing Green Fellow. We are thrilled beyond words to honor Justin here tonight, and just can't wait to see what he'll accomplish in the years to come.
I am so delighted to have the honor of introducing Justin. As you've heard tonight, Justin is truly an extraordinary person. For all that he has navigated in his own life, from the highs to the more difficult times, his outlook is one of joy and optimism. He takes all that he has and he invests it back into the community of East Boston, which he loves so dearly, especially into its children. Ask around East Boston and you'll find that anyone and everyone knows Justin. I have the good fortune of getting to work closely with Justin and the East Boston Social Centers and to see firsthand the impact that he is having on children in the community. And it's no mystery why. His vision for East Boston is a big one. It's to see all children in East Boston enter kindergarten ready to learn, joyful and thriving. And he'll stop at nothing to make that vision happen. What I've learned from Justin is that wrapping around children and families is not just about ensuring that their basic needs are met. It's about going the extra mile to make sure that families thrive, that parenting is joyful, that childhood is joyful. For all that Justin has done in his career and his commitment to East Boston during these traumatic times, it's clear that he has stepped up to meet the call that Robert Kennedy issued to us all. Congratulations, Justin.
This is a wonderful honor for me to be able to be here and speak to you all about my friend Justin. Justin is a leader in every sense of the word. And when I think of a leader, a truly successful and effective leader is somebody who recognizes that you must serve others in order to be a good leader. And Justin is the embodiment of that. He's a person who inherently is kind and smart and has achieved great things, but it always comes back to him working hard to serve the people of East Boston, and particularly the constituencies that are served by the East Boston Social Centers. The Social Centers, as everybody knows, is a place with over 100 years of history and a wonderful tradition of helping people in East Boston. And so it really required a huge challenge for Justin to come in and take over the leadership of that organization. And to be that, you have to be genuine, you have to be kind, you have to be a person who can really learn to listen and get along with people. And Justin is every bit of that. He and his wife, Vanessa, have made a wonderful impact on East Boston. They continue to be great leaders in that in that city, in that neighborhood. And I have grown to love Justin in the way that he's been able to succeed and be kind and make things work within the East Boston Social Centers. Justin, you are so deserving of this award, so deserving of this recognition. I'm sure this is something that is a little bit unsettling for you because you are so humble in your leadership, but it is so wonderful for us to all be here and to celebrate you and your leadership and all of the great things that you do. Thank you, Justin.
Justin has spent his career serving children and families most in need and helping remedy the lived consequences of systemic and societal injustice. He is a community leader in the truest sense and an unwavering advocate for the youngest among us. Justin, on behalf of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, I'm happy to present you with the 2021 Embracing the Legacy Award. Congratulations.
The motto of East Boston Social Centers is when all give, all gain. Thank you, Congressman, Lauren, and Tom for giving so generously. We all gain greatly from your partnership. I accept this award on behalf of the staff, board, volunteers, funders, and communities who do the hard work for which I'm being recognized. And in gratitude to my wife, children, extended family, and friends who love, support, and believe in me and the work. It is humbling to receive this with these other accomplished, dedicated awardees and past awardees who include some of my mentors. I aspire to live up to it. Dana, Tom, and the RFK Children's Action Corps team, thank you for all you've done to make this a memorable experience. 60 years ago, Robert F. Kennedy said all of us might wish at times that we lived in a more tranquil world, but we don't. And if our times are difficult and perplexing, so are they challenging and filled with opportunity. How true his words ring today. When I was a young child, I didn't know to wish for a more tranquil world. I didn't know anything different than moving between my birth mother's care, family and friends, and foster homes. I often drew pictures of earthquakes, showing my fear the next disaster was imminent. But opportunity came from those early years, learning entrepreneurship in my father's pharmacy, gaining passion for adventure from my world-traveling birth grandfather, broadening my horizons with family in England. For this foster adoptee, RFK Children's Action Corps' innovative, strategic, compassionate work in child welfare is deeply meaningful. RFK Children's Action Corps and I share the belief that every person has the right to reach their full potential. I started my career by founding Silver Lining Mentoring, which empowers foster youth to flourish through committed relationships with mentors who see that potential in them. I continued as Executive Director of Children's Health Watch, where the team worked with partners to protect SNAP and increase the Massachusetts Earned Income Tax Credit to move children and families closer to their potential. RFK Children's Action Corps and I also share the value of community, which led me to community-based work with diverse families and people of all ages at East Boston social centers. Our communities have some of the largest immigrant populations in Massachusetts, and we're struggling with increased housing burden before this pandemic hit us harder than just about anywhere else in the Commonwealth. With support from partners, the East Boston Social Center staff has met the needs of thousands of individuals and families, delivering meals and produce and providing rental and utility assistance, and sadly, funeral assistance. As backbone of the Every Child Shines movement to build a model whereby all East Boston children enter kindergarten joyful, thriving, and ready to learn, we and partners are building on this, strengthening coordination to meet community needs. During this pandemic, our team also provided safe in-person early education and full-day remote learning support to meet the needs of essential worker parents and those who couldn't navigate the technology to support children's remote learning. But this crisis has also shown how broken the greater non-system of early education and care is. It has been our honor to join neighborhood villages and other partners and play our small part in the Common Start Coalition, supporting groundbreaking legislation to ensure all Massachusetts children have access to high-quality, affordable early education and care taught by equitably paid teachers. The energy surrounding that legislation is just one example of the opportunity in this challenging time. Thank you to RFK Children's Action Corps for your value of hope, for always recognizing the opportunities in difficult, perplexing times, for our nation, for our systems, and for children like the foster child I once was.
My life prior to RFK was not something any child should have to endure. From as early as I can remember, I was surrounded by drug addicts, alcoholics, and criminals, and I was the subject of all forms of abuse. I was 9 years old when I arrived at RFK and remained with them for a little over 2 years in their residential program and the school. And this was the first time I felt my life could really be different for the better. They gave me hope. Val was one of the teachers. She really had a gift for being able to steer kids in the right direction through her gentle personality.
We saw this young man really turn into something that made us proud. I found his report cards, and I was really glad to see what some of the teachers had to say in regards to him. They really said that he had a good attitude in school. He really enjoyed the subject of math, showed great sportsmanship, and really showed some real steady growth. So with that, in November of 1991, he was promoted to our transitional classroom. It was there where he really blossomed, kind of gives kids a little bit more independence, gives them more opportunity to do things around the school building. And that's where we really saw Chris shine. He really did a great job and was able to really advance his studies. And I think a lot of that really helped him as to where he is today. I'm living proof that if given the opportunity to have the level of care and education that I received at RFK, anything is possible. And now, as the father of twin 9-year-olds, I really appreciate it even more, as I can't imagine my girls having to endure the life I had before RFK. One of the things that I always say about the students here, and I tell people this all the time, they're really not bad kids. They really had to endure some bad things in their lives. And I see that as Chris as being a true example of someone who really rebounded in a way that makes us all very, very proud today.
When have you ever known me to be speechless, folks? What can I say? This is what we are all about tonight. Chris, I just love you. Val, thank you for helping to tell the story. I love RFK. I love all of you for participating. This is why we existed, folks. This is why we're here tonight. Chris, yes, is amazing. He deserves so much credit. I'm happy to tell you that his is just one of many wonderful stories, the result of the remarkable programs at RFK Children's Action Corps. There is amazing work being done every day across every one of our programs, and those programs are made possible, folks, by you. We are together every year. We talk about all the wonderful things that RFK Children's Action Corps does. Never has it been more important than tonight. It's so frustrating that we're not all together hugging and kissing each other and having that wonderful reunion we have every year. But in some ways, this is even more important because we can sit at home and we can really think about and obviously hear about the great things that happen every day. I want to thank some of you right now who've made the remarkable work at RFK possible. Of course, top of the list here that I've just been given, Bob Rivers. Bob, how much do we love you in Eastern Bank? You always do the right thing. And Bob, by the way, folks, is a fellow embracing the legacy honoree. So as always, like I said, Bob, thank you, thank you. Joe Geraghty. Joe, you're always standing there with us. A huge thank you tonight. Evelyn Talmo. Again, Evelyn, what can we say to you? You are so warm, so generous, so kind, and so giving. And Steve Charkoudian, again, same thing. Folks, these are people who always are standing with us because every dollar has a huge impact on the lives of our kids. And you are making an important investment in the life of a child tonight. It's not an exaggeration to say lives are not only changed and improved, but actually saved, just like you heard from Chris. And the money raised tonight will be able to invest in the schools, which, as you know, have been really hard hit during COVID. We'll also be able to create a mentoring program for some youth who have completed the Detention Diversity Advocacy program that we call DDAP. They, however, will need a stronger foundation from which to grow. So if you give tonight, you're going to help. Please, please, please give whatever you can, knowing the impact that you'll have on the life of a child. I want to thank some more people. Mary Ritter, man, that's a name that we hear over and over again. Margaret Hallidis, you are always tremendous standing with us. Michelle Masterson, Mitchell Leibowitz, Kelly Garrity. I mean, these are names that we hear over and over again because you are just wonderful. And I have also add to the list, I'm just giving Jane, Lane, and Emma Carpenter. Jane and Emma, again, thank you all. I can never, ever express enough your generosity and kindness and what they mean to all of us, but not just to us tonight, to the kids, to the people, to the kids you're helping, to the staff, the remarkable staff at RFK that just does so much. You know, there aren't words. There just aren't words. Charlie and I have talked so many times about what the RFK Children's Action Corps means to us, and we agree. There's no way to express it, except when you hear from the now adults, like you just did, Chris, who has made a remarkable life for himself. 9-year-old twins, did you hear that? And he's just the best father ever. And he is because of the people he met so young in his life. So folks, please, if you've already given, here's a little secret. If you've already given, you can give twice. You can give as many times as you'd like tonight. And we really, really hope you do. Charlie told you earlier how easy it is to give. And you want to know what? When you turn this computer off tonight, or if you're watching us on your iPad, however you're watching us, you are going to not only feel good about having seen a terrific night of inspiration,
but you're going to go to bed feeling really good that you have made a difference. One of the things we've all experienced during COVID is the frustration of not being able to help, not being able to do anything, being away from our loved ones. You know, the loss has just been tremendous. Well, think about what they've done every single day at RFK. They have had a happy ending, a happy story, great success every day, and that's thanks to you. So please continue to make it happen. And I thank you. You know, my heart is with this organization. It has been. We're going to show you some pictures now of what happiness and giving looks like. Take a look at these, huh? These are celebration pictures. These are folks who are with us tonight. We thank you for being with us tonight. We thank you for sharing. We thank you for giving. We thank you for your warmth. We thank you for giving your heart. And of course, we thank you for giving your donations. Don't let it stop, folks. We have a lot more. Oh, that's a great story. I want to see their bank accounts. Probably better than mine, actually. Adorable pets, though. Sammy, you want to get on TV? You want to get on the show? Sammy is right here. He's going to write a check. Oh, look at, well, we know those faces. They're happy people. No question about it. And as the pictures are coming on your screen, folks, you can see in the eyes and in the smiles what it really means to be a part of this great family. You know, you heard Michael say it earlier. There's never just one hero. No, there is not. The heroes are all of us working together. Please, let's continue to do so. Huge congratulations to all of our honorees tonight. And now we have another. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to call her my friend. Charlie.
Many Massachusetts residents know the barrier-breaking story of Reverend Liz Walker. As Boston's first Black TV news anchor on WBZ-TV, she spent 21 years traveling the world reporting on stories about poverty, social injustice, and life and beauty, earning her numerous awards. After a mission trip in 2001, Reverend Walker left journalism to earn a degree in religion and women's issues from Harvard Divinity School. That same year, she helped found My Sister's Keeper, a nonprofit focused on opening up economic and educational opportunities for Sudanese women and girls. Reverend Walker was also instrumental in the founding of the Jane Doe Safety Fund, a statewide anti-violence initiative that works on policy and supports domestic abuse shelters and safe houses around the Commonwealth. And she is co-chair of the King Boston Project to create the city's proposed memorial honoring Dr. Martin Luther King and his wife, Coretta Scott King. Over the course of Reverend Walker's career, she has earned 2 Emmy Awards, the Crittenden Women's Union's Amelia Earhart Award, an Edward R. Murrow Award, and was inducted into the Massachusetts Broadcasters Hall of Fame. What a privilege indeed it is for us to have Reverend Walker here tonight to receive this award.
I was thrilled to nominate Liz Walker for this honor for so many reasons. I first met Liz when she came to Boston so many years ago, then as a journalist, just making all kinds of strides at WBZ as the first Black, not only journalist anchor, full-time anchor on a major newscast, but in pretty much everything she touched in the greater Boston area. We worked for competing stations, but we worked on a lot of the same charities. And she co-anchored with my then husband, Bob Lobel. So we became not only colleagues professionally, but very close personal friends. And I have to tell you, I was in awe of Liz Walker from the very beginning. When you think of Liz, the word that comes to mind, of course, love, but even more so, connection. Liz has an ability that not a lot of people share, and that is to immediately make a personal connection when she meets somebody or when she hears of some charity or some need, not just in the greater Boston area, but in the world. And Liz has traveled the world, and every place she's gone, she has taken back something of importance to the people. When I say back, she doesn't just go and visit and say, nice to have met you. She learns, she goes home, she internalizes, she educates herself, then re-educates herself, and then goes back and brings things that the people of that area would not otherwise have been able to experience. Liz is the real deal, as they say, because she not only talks about things she wants to do, she does them. And here's something else that not too many people really know. Yes, she's a terrific mother, but she is a terrific mother of an amazing star. Nick Walker is in the touring company of the great hit Hamilton. So if you ever have the opportunity to see Nick, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When Liz first came to Boston, one of her first assignments was on the 4th of July, you know, the great outdoor extravaganza that Boston is known for at the Esplanade. Well, that was Liz's assignment. And she did a live shot from the Esplanade, and she stood there and talked about the fireworks and the Boston Pops and what a wonderful evening it was. And at the end of her report, she stopped, she looked into the camera, and she said, "Boston, I just love you." Well, Liz Walker, I am thrilled to be able to sit here this evening, look into the camera and say, Liz Walker, I just love you. We all do.
Like many of you, I first came to know Liz Walker from a distance. I admired her. She was poised, polished, suave, and sophisticated. And then I came to know her for myself, know her as being bright, inventive, resourceful, committed, competent, and caring. In the words of Tina Turner, she is simply the best. And she's a good sister, regular down home, got your back, laughing with you, sister. What she has done for this community and for this Commonwealth, indeed this country, is nothing less than extraordinary. Over her multiple careers, she has developed a legacy that is legendary. And that is why we're here to celebrate Liz Walker tonight. My friend, my mentor, my colleague, our shero, the Reverend Liz Walker.
Reverend Walker is a force of nature, a fearless voice for the people and places our system leaves voiceless. From Dorchester to Sudan, she has dedicated her career to the ideals of equity, justice, and compassion that define this organization. On behalf of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, Reverend Walker, I'm happy to present you with the 2021 Embracing the Legacy Award.
I am so honored to be a part of this celebration this evening, to be recognized by this institution that has done so much to improve child welfare and juvenile justice. I salute you for all the work you've done in helping children and adolescents overcome circumstances and experiences that threaten their very lives, let alone their futures. My heartfelt thanks to Congressman Kennedy, to my good friend Susan Warnick, and of course my sister on the road to healing and justice, Reverend Dr. Gloria White Hammond. You all inspire me by the many ways you help hold this world together. I think I was just starting in high school when I wrote a letter to Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and I actually got an answer. Imagine, if you will, a lanky teenager going to the mailbox in the midst of civil and social and racial turmoil and getting a letter from the government. It was amazing. It took my breath away. I was responding to some challenge that Robert Kennedy had put out to young people, and he thanked me for caring. Along with his brother and John and Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy was one of my earliest heroes. His death, of course, traumatized me. But what he did to young people, he talked about us, he talked to us, and he saw the very real potential in young people to change the world. I have never lost sight of Robert Kennedy's vision. It is etched in my heart and has been the catalyst for a lot of my work with young people all over the world today. This extraordinary year has taken a toll on all of us, especially our young. The pandemic has damaged their physical and mental health, their education, and their socialization. Of course, they have resilience and they will get through this, but we have to be there for them, all of them, more than ever before. And that is what makes the work of the RFK Children's Action Corps more important than ever before. What you do, and what I'm trying to do, is to ensure that all of our children, all the children within our reach, are safe and feel valued, so that they can find their best voices and then know that their voices will be heard, just like mine was heard by Robert Kennedy. Many are struggling in ways we can't even imagine, so we can't let them struggle alone. Our priority is to continue to encourage and empower them to move unafraid into the future. There's a lot of work ahead, but I pray that this celebration gives us all a renewed sense of Robert Kennedy's vision in order to continue that work. And I am so glad that we are all in this together. Thank you.
Marty Meehan is the first undergraduate alumnus to lead the 5-campus University of Massachusetts system. In 2015, he became the president after serving in the U.S. House of Representatives and as chancellor of UMass Lowell. Marty has an abiding belief in public higher education's power to transform lives. Throughout his career at the University of Massachusetts, Marty made quality, diversity, access, and affordability keystones of his vision to raise his alma mater's reputation and impact. Marty remains actively involved with the Marty Meehan Educational Fund, which provides scholarships to children who lost a parent or loved one during the September 11th terrorist attacks. He serves as a donor and mentor for young people of color through The Base. He also supports dozens of causes, including the Greater Lowell Music Theater, the Salvation Army, the Jimmy Fund, the Immaculate Conception Church in Lowell, Lowell General Hospital, and the Lowell Plan. Marty, we stand in awe of your career and commitment to serving children, and I'm so proud to call you a friend.
I'm so proud to be here tonight to talk about my very close friend, Marty Meehan. I so remember in 1992 and after that when he came to the United States Congress, how I took note of the fact that he, unlike many members of Congress, had the backbone to stand up sometimes to members of his own party when he disagreed with them. And I remember telling friends of mine at the time, keep an eye on Marty Meehan. He's going places, and he certainly has. He loved Robert Kennedy. That's why he and Ellen Meehan named one of their sons Robert Francis Meehan. Marty's commitment to high quality, affordable education for all young people, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their family incomes, where they came from, reflects the same sensitivity to the young, which was shared by Robert Kennedy. Marty, like RFK, is a transformational leader, and he's had a major influence on public higher education in Massachusetts and in the nation. He transformed UMass Lowell, from which he graduated, and he's now transforming the entire University of Massachusetts system. That's why the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps is proud to bestow on Marty Meehan our Embracing the Legacy Award tonight. Congratulations, my friend Marty. It's so well deserved.
In 1966, at the University of Cape Town, South Africa, Robert F. Kennedy spoke about the indispensable qualities of leadership. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence, he said. Yet it is the one essential, vital quality for those who seek to change a world that yields most painfully to change. For nearly 20 years, as a supporter and as his friend, I have witnessed firsthand the courage of Marty Meehan. During his 14 years in the U.S. Congress, Marty established a national reputation for his legislative leadership, winning praise for his efforts to protect children and the larger public from the health risks of tobacco. Speaking with me after one particularly difficult vote, one for which I knew he would be criticized, he said, "At the end of the day, I have to be able to look my kids in the eye and tell them that I did the right thing." That's moral courage. That's the quality of leadership Robert Kennedy most admired. And that is the leadership that Marty has also brought to UMass. When he was inaugurated in 2015, he vowed to fight for UMass, calling it the state's most important institution for social mobility and economic growth. He has kept that vow. Marty Meehan is a worthy recipient of this honor. He has served the people of Massachusetts with distinction, and he has helped to make the Bay State a better place for all of its citizens. He is also one heck of a friend. Congratulations.
President Marty Meehan has given his heart and his soul to Massachusetts and her future. From the halls of Congress to the corridors of UMass, he has fought for a better, brighter future for all our families. Mr. President, on behalf of the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, I am honored to present you with the 2021 Embracing the Legacy Award.
Thank you very much, Susan, Phil, Father Malone. Thank you so much for all the great work you do as a Jesuit priest and as the editor of America Magazine. You carry the torch for so much of what Robert Kennedy believed in. And Joe, thank you so much. Let me express my gratitude to our event chairs, John J. Boyle, Emma Carpenter, and Congressman Joe Kennedy, and to the leadership and members of the Robert F. Kennedy Action Corps. I thank you for this great honor. I also want to thank you for the important work that you do in providing young people with programs, with guidance, with a path at a time when their lives may be at a crossroads. You're there for young people when one path could lead to a happy and productive life, but another could bring about years of misery. The RFK Children's Action Corps transforms lives and has been making a difference for more than 50 years. And I'm honored to be associated with your outstanding work. I don't think it's any secret that Bobby Kennedy is one of my great personal heroes. Naming my eldest son, Robert Francis Meehan, pretty much gives away the game. Bobby Kennedy inspired me when I was very young, and he inspires me today. As we know, he was a man who stood up against injustice, who fought for equality, and sought to heal rather than divide. Bobby Kennedy energized young people. He inspired Black Americans living in our decaying cities and farm workers toiling in the sun-drenched fields in California, as well as countless others too often overlooked or shortchanged by our society. I've thought about him often over the past year during this dark and difficult period. It's been a trying and testing time of pandemic and extreme social and racial distress. We've seen an incumbent president show contempt for the rule of law. And like you, I was appalled to see the halls of Congress trampled by those who scorn democracy and decency. And now we are seeing brazen attempts to steal voting rights from our people. It has been a time that has challenged us to look inward, to try to find some modicum of the special qualities that Robert Kennedy displayed during his too brief life, to go forward with strength, purpose, and commitment, understanding the importance of serving with grace, humility, and compassion. I have thought about his life of service many times during these days. We miss his leadership so much. Before I conclude, I'd like to take a moment to note another life of service and many public service contributions of a distinguished graduate of the University of Massachusetts, Phil Johnson, who you heard from earlier. In addition to founding and leading this organization, Phil has served in senior positions in the Massachusetts legislature, the Massachusetts State Cabinet, and the United States government. He has made enormous contributions to his alma mater by way of his service on the UMass Board of Trustees, chairing the UMass Building Authority, and the UMass Foundation Board of Directors. Phil epitomizes Robert Kennedy's belief The purpose of life is to contribute in some way to making things better. We at UMass are fortunate to count Phil as a graduate, a teammate, and a dear friend. Once again, I deeply appreciate being among this year's honorees, along with Jim Geraghty, Justin Pasquariello, and the Reverend Liz Walker. I appreciate the service provided by the RFK Action Corps and its supporters. We work to make gentle the life of this world, and I am proud to walk alongside you in this journey. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
RFK Children's Action Corps is serving a group of children and youth that really need the services and relationships we provide. These kids have been impacted by poverty, trauma, racism, more than most, and so they deserve the very best. To help them face those challenges with courage and resilience, there are really three legs to our work. First, we run high-quality programs that serve, educate, and support children who need help right now. These programs and their staff help kids overcome acute challenges that they are facing, one child at a time. Second, we advocate for funding, laws, and other supports for the same type of vulnerable kids we serve. We know that everyone from communities to employers benefit when vulnerable kids have a safety net. Finally, we work to change the system that disproportionately impacts these kids. This is where our work can impact the most children. The fact that there are major deficiencies in how we detain, arrest, and jail youth across the country. We know that the systems and structures in place disproportionately target low-income and minority youth. What we've got is a system of punishment rather than one focused on supporting healthy youth development. Through the Robert Kennedy National Resource Center for Juvenile Justice, we work with counties and cities to help change that system so they support children involved rather than simply punish and reinforce a system stacked against vulnerable kids. Now I wanted to turn it over to John Toole and Kerry Hopp, the leaders of our National Resource Center.
Good evening. We launched our operations in December 2013. We provide intensive field-based assistance in partnership with key stakeholders in state and local jurisdictions. We produce transformational improvement in juvenile justice and child welfare systems on behalf of vulnerable, challenging, and marginalized children and youth and their families. The less glamorous but necessary explanation is that we use originally created frameworks and resource publications to guide technical assistance in our priority focus areas on probation and court reform, for dual status youth, alternatives to formal prosecution, and sexually exploited youth. In more than 40 state or local jurisdictions, we have positively influenced the future of more than 140,000 youth. We accept all challenges, as evidenced by our current work in Minneapolis and Milwaukee and Seattle, where we believe challenges present opportunities to establish equal and fair justice, particularly for Black and brown youth that have historically been overrepresented in our child welfare and juvenile justice systems. Our sustainable and measurable results are consistent with Robert F. Kennedy's original vision for all children and youth. But don't just take my word for it.
With the goal to transform our juvenile justice system, we conducted a probation system review in partnership with the RFK National Resource Center. The intensive review was conducted with a supportive yet provocative approach, consistent with our efforts to produce better outcomes with equal opportunities for every youth that came into contact with our court and court service unit. Over the last several years, we have significantly increased the youth successfully diverted from the juvenile justice system, reduced detention numbers, increased success of probation clients, and remarkably improved our partnership with our prosecutor's office. Lastly, we created a transformation work group comprised of all key stakeholders that meets regularly to assess measurable progress. We are indeed making a difference.
During my leadership tenure in Fulton County Juvenile Court, we significantly enhanced our cross-system work to address the unique needs of the marginalized children concurrently involved in the child welfare and juvenile justice systems, all due to the technical assistance support provided by the RFK team. Their steadfast commitment to best practice principles and unwavering adherence to model efficacy, even when uncomfortable for some of us tenured bureaucrats, led to optimal outcomes for court-involved children. Similarly, in my current role in Cobb County, our participation in the RFK probation system review process is yielding outstanding early results. With RFK's partnership, we are engaged in expansive operational improvements from door to door with principles of effective justice intervention. Undoubtedly, our partnership has led to drastically improved juvenile justice standards and supported countless court-involved children and families to redirect life trajectories.
We are currently working with 24 sites across the country to extinguish harmful practices and provoke improvement. By developing resources, innovative partnerships, international trainings, and hosting a 2021 National Symposium, we continue to expand our scope. And we do this with only 3 core staff, 7 expert consultants, and funding from grants and limited local budgets. But there is so much more work to be done. The over 1,300 discrete juvenile justice systems across the United States are not providing equal and fair justice for all youth. Antiquated philosophies and harmful approaches persist in the name of status quo as we aim to provide justice and opportunity for every youth in this country as if they were our own.
We are proud of our impact and alignment with the legacy of Robert F. Kennedy over the past 7+ years. We look forward to our continuing journey to transform youth justice, one young person at a time, across the United States and the globe.
Tonight has been spectacular on all fronts. As an Embracing the Legacy recipient, this is a night I will always cherish. As board chair, I am so proud of our work that has been showcased so beautifully tonight. I am especially proud of the way our staff and the kids that we serve have met the challenges of the past year. While I wish we could be at the JFK Library for this event, I am thrilled we've been able to do so much through a virtual event. And next year, we'll be back in person. I am also excited about the year ahead. In the next few months, we'll officially merge with the Dr. Franklin Perkins School under Michael Ames' leadership, coming together to serve thousands of vulnerable children, youth, and adults in our programs across the state, and thousands more nationwide through our National Resource Center. The people we serve will have more resources within the same organization, and our staff will have more training and development opportunities. But most importantly, we will continue to strengthen and build our programs, including the innovative and exciting new DDAP mentoring program that you heard about here tonight. A program that will help vulnerable children, kids of color, kids in poverty, and kids with trauma to change their lives. On behalf of the full Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps Board, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Be well and have a wonderful night.
Folks, as you've seen from the programs featured this evening, there is so much amazing work being done at RFK, not only here in Massachusetts, by the way, but across the country, to ensure the legacy of Robert F. Kennedy's vision continues through the courageous work being accomplished together by the staff and the youth they serve. The donation page is open and it will stay open. So please, please, please donate. Share it with friends and colleagues and know that you are truly making a huge difference.
And thanks to all of you for joining us in celebrating and honoring our remarkable Embracing the Legacy honorees. Jim, Justin, Liz, and Marty, your support and generosity assures us that the work, the mission, and the legacy continues. And for those of you who have been assigned tables, we ask that you now stand by, preferably with a tasty beverage in hand. I have mine right here, as we virtually transport you to your tables. So cheers, be well, and be safe.